What's up guys, new boss release day. Today we have Arraxxor, and in this video I wanted to get you guys up to speed with how to kill the boss so the second you get off work, you can just dive right on in and start killing this thing. I am going to quickly go over the basics, so if you want to just skip right into the mechanics, there will be timestamps down in the description and at the bottom of the video overlay. For the requirements, it's pretty straightforward. You need 92 Slayer in order to get an Araxxor task, and you need to be on the Slayer task in order to fight it, just like every other Slayer boss in the game. And the only quest that you need to do in order to get to the actual spot, the Araxxor lair where Araxxor is the Priest in Peril quest. With the new boss comes new rewards, and the first of which is the Araxxor Venom Gland. This one, it can heal poison and venom on your person, but it's going to mostly be used to create anti-venom plus potions. No Slayer boss would be complete without teleport scrolls to get you there faster. Arraxxor will also drop his head, which can be used to update your Slayer helm. And like many bosses in the game, we are getting a new jar, which you can display in the boss lair display in your player-owned house. Now we have 3 actual pieces of gear, the first of which is the Arania boots. While the Arania boots do have fairly modest stats, they do have a passive effect which can negate web-based attacks from spider bosses. Next up, we have the Noxious Halberd, a new halberd weapon entering the game. This one is more focused on DPS rather than utility. I'm not going to calc out the stats, I think they messed around with them since my last video, but this isn't really what you're here for anyways. This right here, this is why you are killing this boss. You are trying to get the Amulet of Rancor. This is the boss's best drop, and it's also best in slot for the Neculus Amulet spot, replacing the Amulet of Torture. Not only do we get a boost to our strength bonus, but we also get a plus 10 to all of our attack stats. Plus 25 is a massive boost to our accuracy and will be great when paired with things like the Scythe of Vitter. I don't need to tell you, but this is a new best in slot. Every single account needs to get their hands on one of these eventually, which means that prices are going to be very high, so get them while the getting is good. Well, obviously the best way to get to the boss is having the scroll that teleports you there, but if you can't get your hands on one, there are many different ways for you to get to the Mortania Spider's Nest, which is where Arraxxor is. It's right here on the minimap just north of Darkmire. You could use the ALQ fairy ring and run over. It's not really that long of a run, and if you do have the fairy rings in your POH, this could be a really easy way for you to reset and run back over. You could Ectofile from Port Phasmates, or you could run all the way from the Theater of Blood, even though that's like twice as far if we look at the minimap here. But I want to show you what I think is going to be the best way to resupply. And the final way that you're going to be able to get there involves creating a shortcut. And the first thing that you're going to want to do to use this one, and this is the closest way to get to the cave without the teleport, is to buy a long rope. You're actually going to need to buy 2 long ropes from the general store here in Darkmire, and then I'll show you where we make this. Then right here on the east side of Darkmire is where you're going to want to make the shortcut. This is the Hallowed Sepulchre right here on my screen, so if you go to the Hallowed Sepulchre, just go a little bit east of it and you can make it here. And if you noticed, right where I am on the minimap is right next to where Arraxxor is. And if you didn't know, if you're not familiar with the Hallowed Sepulchre, there's a bank right here on my screen, and then this is Arraxxor. So if you do not have the Arraxxor teleports, this might be a really good way for you to bank and resupply. To make the shortcut, you just use the rope on the wall, use the rope on the second wall, and then you're able to climb up and down to your heart's content. Coming over here onto the wiki, we see that the boss is weak to slash and crush, so we want to prioritize either a slash or a crush weapon. If you are fortunate enough to have a scythe, I recommend the scythe. It's what I've been using. It's been absolutely slapping here. At least at this point, I haven't found defense to matter all too much. You take constant chip damage the entire fight, so I would just prioritize your max strength gear. For your inventory, I have found that the blowpipe or the ballista are very nice for dealing with some of the crabs if you don't want to just tank them. Quick little addendum to this, as I've been doing a lot more of this boss, you absolutely do want a ballista or a crossbow. Heavy ammo has a guaranteed max hits on the crab, so use one of those and bin the blowpipe. I'd grab a special attack weapon. Claws are great because he's weak to slash, but Voidwaker also is fantastic. I wouldn't really recommend bringing any defense reduction special attacks unless that's really all you have. You're going to want your boost potions, your super restores. You absolutely need an anti-venom. I've done a few kills trying it without it. It's not a good time. If you forgot one halfway there, go back and get another one. You want teleports out, teleports in, some hard food. You're not going to need brews. This fight's very short. I think my PB is about 1 minute, and I'm not very good at this yet. And then for your spellbook, I recommend Thralls. The news post that Jagex put out did say Venge, but you're going to need to take off prayer venges, which will be good for speedruns in the future, but for this time, thralls is fine, and if you're comfortable, spellbook swap venge and thralls is even better. Here's a decent mid-tier setup if you did want to copy it and play it around, but honestly, you should really just focus on slash and maximizing your strength bonus. The boss stacks with melee and will start ranging you if you step away. I recommend just staying in melee distance the entire time and praying against the melee attacks. The boss has several special attacks, most of which deal with venom. The first attack, he will stop attacking you and point in a direction. Shortly after this, like 1 or 2 ticks, she will shoot out a ball that deals massive venom damage to you if it hits you and leaves behind a trail of venom that will rapidly damage you if you stand in it. When it strikes the back wall, it's going to burst into a bunch of different little venom blobs that all go on the floor permanently. The second attack is that she will coat you in the venom, and then you have to walk this off. If you've done any Chambers of Xeric, this is the same exact thing as the Olm acid attack, but it's much shorter. For the last and final special attack, she just throws out a bunch of little acid globlets, and you got to avoid them and don't stand on them for the rest of the fight. Next, we have the crabs. There are 3 different types of crabs, all with different effects. They start off as eggs around the room, which you can kill, but I don't really think it's worth it for you to do so. The first of the crabs is the Ranger. He will just deal constant low chip damage against you. Even in a budget setup, these can easily be ignored. If your DPS is really bad and you're finding these to be a problem, you can kill these. If you have a heavy ballista, you can one-hit these if you do have a tiny little switch like this and you throw on Rigor. Crossbows work for this too. What you want is heavy ammo. The next are the mirrorback spiders. These are the most annoying in my opinion. They reflect damage that you do to Arraxor back to you, and it can amount to an amount that is not nothing, if that makes sense. If your DPS is really good, you can just ignore them. You will end up killing themselves by doing damage to you. Otherwise, this is the one that you would likely be killing. If you are going to kill them, don't be like me. Use a heavy ballista or a crossbow. The last and the best crab are the exploding crabs. These are red. They explode a few ticks after they reach you. This can be used to deal massive damage to Arraxor. I've found the best way to deal with these is to lure them under her, and once they reach you, just step back 2 tiles. Arraxor will get into melee range with you, take up to 80 damage, and you will avoid all damage in turn. Last part of the fight is the Enrage Phase. At 25% health, Arraxor will attack every 4 ticks. This will cause a 3-tile poison splat on your person and hit you for consistent damage. You will have to move around Arraxor, attacking and moving 2 tiles every time she attacks. This is telegraphed by the scree that you can see set over her head. With whips or other 4-tick weapons, this is an easy 1-to-1 cycle. With scythes, soul reapers, or other 5-tick weapons, you are going to have to miss a hit every once in a while to keep the cycle. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy the video, make sure that you do like the video. It helps it push out to more people who might be looking to learn this boss today on release day. Best of luck to you, and subscribe to the channel if you do want to see more from me.